We have started to record the most recent session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session. It is Wednesday, June 1st, 2022. A reminder that Thursday and Friday of this week, we begin with graded demonstrative speeches. What I am going to do today is to not only, because today is listed as topic selection on the syllabus and the course itinerary, go through a number of different materials that have been used for past topics in this course, looking at some of the structure of the outlines, whether they were in Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoint, whether they used YouTube or whether they used Loom. And then we're going to look at some more speeches. A lot of them specifically are available at my website, and also how you're going to send me material. Always double check your outbox to make certain that you have attached your speech. If you're doing something on Loom or on YouTube, everything will be self-encompassing. You don't have to worry about sending me any type of slides separately. The most important things that you can do are to make certain that, one, that you have the address correct, because it's going to be sent to my Yahoo address either for day 1, Thursday, or day 2, Friday, for this week only. And the other part of it is to make absolutely sure that the video that you send me for the demonstrative speech this week is the version that you want. Most of you are going to record more than one different take. So you want to make certain that what you send me is the correct take. The video looks exactly the way you want. The audio is easily understandable, because everything that you do, like all of the speeches that you've seen, are going to be played and evaluated in a positive way during the class sessions. These 8 class sessions for the 4 graded speech materials, those days, are specifically set aside for all of your materials to be seen by your classmates. Let's go to Blackboard in the student preview mode for a reminder of what's going to be coming up. Just before we started class, I refreshed the announcement so everyone knows where to go. Today is going to be session 5 of 19 for the summer. For your benefit, here's the syllabus. When you scroll through, there's my SAU email address, but for all practical purposes, as you're well aware by now, graded documentation is always going to be sent right here to the Yahoo address, electronic submission of assignments, Prof. James Reppert, SAU at yahoo.com. We'll be going to my website today. We'll be going to my Twitter account today. But for your benefit, a reminder that everything that you do for the graded speeches is going to be worth 20 points. Microsoft PowerPoint, Google Slides, or Canva, if you want to experiment with Canva, 6 slides minimum, internet materials, online videos. We'll be going through a couple of outlines today that are available at the website that incorporate interactivity. Now, it all depends upon what your topic is, but if you want to throw in any kind of video clip, ideally it is going to supplement what you talk about, not give the speech for you, and be no longer than roughly about 30 to 45 seconds. The length of your speeches is going to be in the area of 5 to 7 minutes, but if they run a little bit longer, that's certainly acceptable. I would always look in my practice sessions for a length minimum of 5 minutes, with the understanding that if you've got 6 to 7 slides, you'll notice that many of the speeches that we've seen so far, they may not necessarily be perfect with the delivery, ers, ahs, ums, drop Gs, those types of things, but it shows me early on 2 items. One, that you're making a conscientious effort to remain extemporaneous during your speech, because that's where the conversationality and your personality are going to both flow quite freely, and you come across as an authentic, poised public speaker. And then the other part of this is The more that you practice, the more that you feel comfortable speaking from bullet points from text or speaking from graphics or different kinds of infographics, pictures, visuals that are available no matter what your topics are. So the demonstrative speech is going to be worth 20 points. All of the grades will be posted on Blackboard over the weekend sometime before class the following Monday. So by the time we meet on Monday of next week, which is June 6th, to talk about informative speech, topic selection, and informative speech research, all of the grades for demonstrative speeches to a maximum of 20 points will be posted in the Grade Center. So that's the syllabus, the official syllabus. We come back to the course syllabus area. The itinerary for today and tomorrow is right there. We don't have to move anything. Demonstrative speech day 1 tomorrow. Demonstrative speech day 2, the only Friday that we meet during the term. Always keep in mind that the first day of the week, we do research. The second day of the week, topic selection. The third and fourth days of the week, you guys are going to be speaking, which leads us back to course syllabus and the course speech schedule. In this particular case, Burgess, Davis, Easter, French, Glover, Graves, and Griffin, all of you will have speeches prepared for me by class time tomorrow. Jones, Kemp, Martin, Pearson, Reyna Garcia, Vickers, and Wright, all of your data will be presented to me by class time on Friday. Keep me appraised regularly so I may be of assistance during your respective speech preparation processes. Thanks. And the other part of this, for those of you who are going to be speaking on the first day, is I always start class in the area of 12 noon. As long as I receive your speeches in my email file by about 11:45 each day, as long as I have them before class and can open them up and make certain that the video and the audio both work, you can bump the submission of any graded speech, demonstrative, informative, your persuasive, or wildcard presentations, all the way up until virtually class time. Don't send me something after 12 o'clock. But as long as I get it no later than about 11:45 or maybe 11:50, that's certainly acceptable. But remember, 2 things: that you check your outgoing email file to make certain that you have attached your YouTube link or your Loom video link, and that it is specifically meeting the requirements of 5 to 7 minutes and you've got quality graphics. Back to course syllabus. When you are going through your presentations, you'll recall that class session 3, we were looking at effective content delivery and visuals, and we spent the entire class actually just going through this forum. This is a checklist. So for your content, always consider, is your organization logical? Introduction relevant? Main and supporting points apparent? Topic research detailed? Fairness inclusive? Topic analysis thoughtful? Conclusion concise. When you're examining the delivery of your speech, always consider positive constructive criticism, because that's the way I do mine in all of my courses. Is your extemporaneous quality continuous? Is your conversational style expressive? Eye contact full? Articulation and enunciation clear? Vocal variety varied? Nonverbal cues poised? Persona authentic? Then moving down to your visuals. Is your design consistency uniform? Font size, color shading readable? Spelling, grammar, syntax accurate? Text image balance comparable? In other words, you're not relying too much on bullet points and you're not relying too much on graphics. There's a nice blending of the two to keep you extemporaneous. You don't want to write down everything word for word because then it becomes a reading exercise and you don't sound conversational. Is your interactivity recurrent? Now, this really all depends upon the subject matter. I'll talk about that whenever we get to a couple of items in a few minutes on speech outline preparation. Is your aesthetic appeal creative? In other words, your graphics are attractive to look at. A reminder that over the weekend, probably sometime Sunday evening, the demonstrative speech grades will be posted in this location. So you'll know week by week how you are progressing. And the other part of this, as you're well aware by now, is tools. Not only can you access my grades from this location as well, but at Tools, Blackboard Collaborate Ultra can be your best friend by scanning through entire courses or by watching video clips or scanning through whatever you think is important. But I think watching them over and over again is going to be crucial. Just like looking at all of your recording sessions for the 4 graded speeches before you send me whatever you think is most appropriate. These are the class sessions for the remainder of this week. Wednesday, right now, we're live. Thursday and Friday, but for all of you in the menu, and that's why I always go through the student preview mode here, as you can see with the gold bar. Go to recordings, and this is what we've done so far. Part 1, Part 2 for the course requirements, Session 3, effective content delivery and visuals, as I indicated a moment ago, just going through the checklist to see for content delivery and visuals, how you're progressing during your preparation for any of the speeches week by week. And then yesterday, demonstrative speech research. Today will be listed as Session 5, demonstrative speech topic selection, which now leads us to my website. There are really 2 different areas in which you're going to be doing research. A lot of the videos from Blackboard, just to let you visualize what people have done in the past, but also my website is a crucial part of your long-term success in this course. As I indicated during a previous class session, I'm not big on tutorials. I don't think you learn, at least that's been my experience, just by going point by point. You play around with ideas, you play around with concepts. That's where the creativity, in my opinion, is going to flow. And one of the areas in which ideally your creativity can flow is from just examining data that's at my website. From this point, scroll through all the way down. Of course, links to my social media platforms. It's not a requirement to follow me on Twitter, even though there is a link at the syllabus, because I do it for all of my mass communication, mass media courses. And I try to be as specific as possible in putting data online for folks in whatever class they're taking from me. The difference is with the basic public speaking course, representative samples of materials are going to be posted here. As I've told you before, if any of you want to take the advanced public speaking course from me during the spring of next year, you're more than welcome to. And that's the area on the website you would look at. But here, for the basic public speaking course, within this window, on top, you have tons of demonstrative speech outlines, some with interactivity, some with video links that we'll get to shortly. We've got demonstrative speeches with audio because some people didn't have webcams, and we've got different types of demonstrative speech audio materials. If you scroll to the bottom, I'm also posting each class session all the way at the bottom. One is currently in the process of being finalized, so you may not necessarily see me as the icon, and that's the case. This one is still processing. That's why you don't see my shining visage. These were Tuesday, Thursday, actually Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of last week, sessions 1, 2, and 3. What we did yesterday is currently being processed and will be posted here. So not only can you access videos of this class from Blackboard, you can actually do it from my website. So with all of that in mind, whenever you're putting together your outline, what's going to work best for you in terms of trying to maintain an extemporaneous style? I'm going to go to Google Drive next. This is the area where I post all of the materials that eventually wind up on my website. So this is my perspective whenever I'm looking at a lot of the material before I actually would upload it, as you can see, to my website. You've got the syllabus, the checklist, course examples of speech videos during the pandemic, but it starts with a lot of informative. Course itinerary for the summer, the course speech schedule, which is all available on Blackboard. And now we have all different kinds of topics, which include application of eye makeup. Well, let's go ahead and click on this. First summer session 2014. This was a face-to-face course. So the student, in this particular case, put together her slides, sent them to me, and then whenever we got to the classroom in Overstreet Hall, I opened up hers and everyone else who was in the 7:30 a.m. Monday through Thursday class, and they presented in person at the podium from an interactive classroom. Well, let's slowly go through this so you can see the way in which she was trying to remain extemporaneous all the way through. Eye shapes, eyebrow shapes, types of brushes, step one with a primer, and a link to a YouTube video. Step two, base shadow. Step three, crease. Step four, highlight. And let me pause for a moment. Notice that she's got bullet points and visuals. That's not unusual, guys, for a class like this, because again, you don't want to necessarily write out material in complete sentences, because whenever you're practicing, for instance, on this point, it's never going to sound exactly the same. In one practice session that you record, you might focus on the visual, the coloring of the eye, or if you're practicing in another take, you might be focusing on something that is in a bullet point. So a quality extemporaneous speaker never knows exactly what his or her speech is going to sound or look like until they actually watch it back either on Loom or on YouTube. Same thing here, step 5, eyeliner, but all of those different visuals give you the opportunity to basically be a quarterback calling an audible at the line of scrimmage. You never know exactly what it's going to look or sound like, but you have options. The visual or the bullet point is going to help you. In this case, step 6, mascara and falsies. It's going to help you think about on the spot what is important. It may be something from a visual, it may be something from a bullet point, as I mentioned, it may be a personal experience, which is going to really make people identify with the topic more. So that's the final graphic. You don't necessarily have to put text on every last slide. Sometimes it's going to be visually based, but because she had told me before class she was going to roll through her graphics a little bit more quickly than normal, she wanted to have 11 of them. Now let's go from back to front, examining the steps that she had placed in chronological order, because for a process speech, as you're well aware how something works, how something operates, you're going to go from step 1 all the way to the end. In this case, perfect example. Makeup brush 101, types of brushes. She's not going to mention every last brush. She might use the eyeshadow blend or the gel eyeliner or the eyeshadow blend more than the others, and then there's a link, or there is an address to a beauty blog website. Eyebrow shapes, eye shapes, and then her title slide. Notice how she put her title slide together. She's got a photo, but she's taken the photo and put it in a transparency, so it has somewhat of a muted effect. And then off to the side, where it's not going to compete with the eyes right here or with the brushes for attention. She's got a very attractive graphic, the title of her presentation in a larger font style, but something that gives the illusion the color matches the backdrop of the slides, as do her name, the course, the term, and when it was offered. So always make certain that if you want to be noticed in this class, obviously it's important that you have the name and the year that it was offered. So in this case, the application of eye makeup from 8 years ago, and the time goes by very quickly. Now notice, and this is also available, as you're aware, on my website. So let me go back there for just a moment before we continue, because all of this is available at my website. It just looks a little different. From where we left off, now just scrolling back up at the website, this is exactly what you've been looking at before I post it online. So right up at the top, that's the presentation that we just looked at. If I open this right now, if I clicked on this, it would open in a separate window, as well as any of these other items. So just keep that in mind. If there is something that you see, you want to download it, save it for future reference, or use that as a template, that is certainly acceptable. Now let's return to Google Drive and show you other examples of demonstrative speech outlines. Remember, today we're actually looking at quote for session 5, topic selection, which is how it is going to be listed on Blackboard later when you're checking out the videos. So scrolling through, we have, among others, application of eye makeup, articulation test, blueberry cheesecake, build a recycling bin with aluminum cans, checking blood glucose. Of course, now in an era of Dexcom, the digitization of this makes things a lot easier if you have blood sugar issues. Chicken bow tie festival pasta, chicken spaghetti, Chinese paper cutting. So these are all how-to speeches. This presentation is also from the first summer session, but it is 2015. The makeup application speech that you just saw was from the summer of 2014. So look at the title slide, Chinese paper cutting. Again, this was done from a podium during a face-to-face class. So it's not going to have any activity in the same way that you would find on Loom. The history of Chinese paper cutting. All of this is designed to remain, from delivery standpoints, as conversational and extemporaneous as you can be. Some of the materials, how you prepare the paper for something called double happiness, 8 slides, and there is the final slide for the longevity symbol. So take a look. There is design consistency all the way through with the titles on each of the slides, the font color, and the font size. Not a lot of text on these slides because the person is using the graphics to not only describe the process, the how-to, but all of the different items on the slide can potentially stimulate that conversational approach. Double happiness, 5 bullet points. Double happiness, 2 bullet points, 3 graphics. Preparing the paper, 2 graphics, 4 bullet points. The shorter the better, because again, the personal stories are going to help individuals identify with the topic and identify with you as a speaker. Those are some of the materials, graphics and bullet points, common paper cuts, the history of Chinese paper cutting, and how door gods are used during the Chinese New Year, and how in her final bullet point, it is, quote, a modern decoration of country folk. And her title slide, very clever, very creative. That brings us now to some of the other topics from years gone by, just representative, as long as they are how to. Chocolate no-bake oatmeal cookies, drawing in proportion, El Gato capture device from the first summer of 2015. So this presentation was in the 9:45 section. Oftentimes during the summer in the past, I would have 7:30 and 9:45 sections of the basic public speaking course. So these two presentations were actually from the same course. Another makeup presentation from the first summer of 2016 in the 7:30 a.m. section, fill in scarce browse, grandma's banana pudding, fishing techniques, how to make Chinese green tea. That was from an international student from China. And he'd indicated that during his time in the United States as an exchange student, he had not really found quality green tea to match from back home. How to make dream catchers from almost 11 years ago. How to make homemade pasta. How to read sheet music from 11 years ago in this class. How to relieve jaundice and colic in infants. And as I recall, that was from a young mother speaking from personal experience. And that brings us to making kvass from the first summer session 7 years ago. Kvass is what we would consider a very, very light Russian beer. It's known as cola in Russia, but it is actually a fermented beverage. Well, how do you make kvass? From a design consistency standpoint, the young lady who gave the speech had a template that she used for all of her slides, and there is interactivity here. So let's go through. That's her title slide, how to make kvass Russian cola, with an attractive graphic and her name, the course, and when it was offered. What is kvass? 4 bullet points. It was invented in Russia before the year 2000. However, it is widely popular, very, very low, as you can see from the second bullet point, alcoholic content, but literally means sour in ancient Russian. I'll take their word for it. This is what you make the kvass from. Black rye croutons, rye and barley flour, sugar, yeast, water, and then by preference, mint, honey, raisins, and horseradish. Now, I think to an American perspective, this stuff sounds nasty, where whatever you're making, it's some type of a fermented brew. You've heard these stories about individuals in prison taking anything that they might get similar to this and making something that is fermented. But quite frankly, to use a non-academic term, from an American perspective, this sounds really funky. But let's move on. The process by which you make the leaven. Demonstrative speech, talking about the process from beginning to end. And this is how she talked about it, with a couple of personal stories thrown in for reference sake. And then the second part of the process, using existing leaven to add more water, sugar, and fresh croutons. Let ferment for 10 to 12 hours, depending upon the room temperature. So this is a home brew, and enjoy the fizz. Now, this is a video clip which opens in a separate window. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to wait. And you can hear in the background that we have to pay for the privilege of watching this video because it is sponsored by Grammarly. So let me show you, because this opened in a different window. Depending upon what your topic is for a demonstrative speech, I would say, guys, that if you feel it's appropriate to add some type of interactivity, that's okay. But you don't want to, as I mentioned a moment ago, you don't want the interactivity to give the speech for you. You want it to serve as a transitional device for that point into what else you're talking about during demonstrating the process. And I can tell you, a long time ago, I had a young man whenever our interactivity in the classroom consisted of a TV and a VCR. His demonstrative speech was being involved in rodeos in Southwest Arkansas. And he brought in a videotape to class. He was in a face-to-face class Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, talked about what it was like to participate in the rodeo, and then walked over to the side of the classroom and played the videotape of him being involved in a rodeo with videotape that had been shot by someone else. So in an analog era, that was our interactivity. In an interactive classroom today, throwing in a video clip certainly is appropriate depending upon the circumstances. So let's go ahead and put this link up from the making of the kvass. Put it up on the screen. Make sure that you can see it. And this video, as you can see, lasts about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. You're also going to hear a cat in the background. Whenever we look at this, or at least when I do, it looks like someone made iced tea. They put it either in the refrigerator or, of course, in the South, you might want to make sun tea, putting it on your front porch, putting it on the sidewalk in front or behind your house. But in this case, that's what the home brew looks like. And you're going to hear not only the fizz, but you're also going to hear the cat.
Круглый встала. Вот так вот. Вот такая вот штука.
So you hear the guy talking in the background, and you can see the fizz. Now, from most of our perspectives, if we ever had a bottle of soda pop and shook it up, or
рукой не заслоняешь.
after you purchased it, whenever you open it like that, and there you can see the cat is fascinated by the effervescence of the kvass. But all of us have been in a position where we shook something and tried to open it up. I'm trying to do it with my Diet Mountain Dew, for those of you who are here, where you could hear the audio but nothing is happening. But if you're watching me live, you could see me shake this and get condensation in front of my webcam. But again, the cat is fascinated by the homemade brew, and that goes on for quite a while. So let me minimize that, take it off the screen, and then lose the audio. You can probably still hear that natural sound, and I just got rid of it. Let's go back to the speech itself. Now keep in mind, for that presentation, as many of the outlines are, if you're in a classroom, in a face-to-face course of mine, it's not unusual to incorporate interactivity in the speech because we're in a classroom with a computer and a wide screen. So if any of you want to do that here, it's certainly appropriate, but something that's a little bit shorter. In that case, the video was 3 minutes and 20 seconds on YouTube. You play probably about maybe 30 to 45 seconds and then talk behind it. So it all depends upon the circumstances. Let's go back to the actual graphic at Google Drive and continue. So there was the link to the process of making the kvass, what it's like in Russia. This is 6 slides total, so something very similar to what you would do here. Bottom right-hand corner, you can see some of, in the Russian language, the favorite types of kvass that you could purchase at a grocery store or a liquor store in Russia. And then you can also see some type of large tank that looks like it should actually be on a farm that has been adapted to buy kvass at some type of outdoor location. The design consistency all the way through, with the text, with the visuals, with the color scheme, it's basic, it's attractive, but it fulfills the guidelines of the course, how to make Russian kvass, also known as Russian cola. Now, from that point on, at the website, we have other representative examples of topics, and this goes back 10 years to my afternoon course that was actually taught in Cross Hall. Making a mask for Dia de los Muertos, which is Day of the Dead. Here we've got no-bake Hershey pie. Here we have how to make Oreo balls. So for Dia de los Muertos, again, a transparency effect on the title slide, but just quickly, how this person used the graphics, used the text to describe the process of making the mask. And as you saw with the first presentation from the summer of 2014 from Pashua Chang on makeup, this also from Khadidra has 11 different slides. If you feel like you're going to roll through the slides relatively quickly, then go ahead and throw in a few more. You don't have to do it exactly the same way for these topics. Notice for that slide and that one and the title slide, similar to the 2014 speech on putting together quality makeup, there is a slight bit of transparency on those slides, so it's easy to read the text that is above it. Same thing here. No-bake Hershey pie. And I just wanted to go through some of these topics from top to bottom. And this is something that you would do too. With all of these examples, you might find something that is in your wheelhouse. I hate to do this to you guys early in the afternoon, those of you who are joining me live, where you're seeing something that is very attractive visually, but that's part of the speech. If you're going to do some type of a presentation for making a mask for Dia de los Muertos, or a no-bake Hershey pie, or in this case, Oreo balls, you want to make certain that the audio is going to be attractive if video is a part. You'll also want to make certain that the visuals are attractive. Title slide, the materials for making the speech, these all come from online sources. The steps in putting them together, occasionally some of these photos are going to be from your cooking, and some of them will be from online versions, which is okay. But it's not unusual for a cooking presentation to have all different kinds of visuals, and I can tell you, it's a lot more convenient with an online or a face-to-face course in a computer era to do a cooking speech rather than in the old days where you would probably bring in the recipe and do a mock version of it, including how to make peach cobbler from the first summer session of 2013, step by step for the cooking. And you're going to see a couple of presentations today which do the same thing, but with audio and video provided. And of course, it wouldn't feel like a class in the South if you did not have a banana pudding speech or a cobbler speech. And we've had many of those in the past, or anything involving grilling. And there's one on the website, which is a video from the past couple of years with that as well. But let's say instead of cooking, you wanted to examine crafting. This is planting flowers in containers from the first summer session, 7:30 a.m. 5 years ago. Very attractive all the way through. Planting flowers in containers, the name of the student, the course, and when it was offered. And I can tell you that this young lady who was a non-traditional student, I met about 3 years ago when I was shopping at the Walmart in Magnolia. And she said, Professor Reppert, you know, to this day, I pay attention to try to get rid of the vocalics when I am speaking. And that was rewarding because for all of you every day, you are making an impression by the way that you speak, by the way in which you carry yourself, and we take it for granted as time goes on. But even after you leave this class, whether it be for your professional career or continuing your academic life at SAU or at another institution, the way in which you speak, the way in which you organize your thoughts, the way in which people view you or how you view yourself, which is why we have the self-evaluation speech critique, are incredibly important to your long-term success as a researcher, a writer, and most importantly from this class, as a communicator. Very attractive graphics that she has to set up her topic. As with a couple of the other speeches that we saw, most recently with the Making a Mask for Dia de los Muertos and the first presentation we looked at in terms of an outline for the makeup, this one also has more than 10 slides. How you pick out flowers with examples and colors, fragrant, non-fragrant, the color, all of the different examples. On this slide, you could talk about wood or plastic, but you don't have to mention every last item on every last slide. It gives you options, prep work on 1, 2, 3 different slides, but I think it's more of a security blanket. The more items that you have, if you, like me, speak a little bit on the faster side, you want to feel comfortable with more notes, more graphics rather than less. So if you speak for 7 minutes rather than 5, that's certainly acceptable. You'll recall that one of the speeches that we saw yesterday that's on my YouTube channel with the closed captioning on Loom, teaching your dog a new trick, that was over 9 minutes, but it was okay because it didn't drag. In fact, I sent that out as a tweet before class today. So that's the finish with enjoy. Now let's count the number of visuals that she has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44 different visuals, 44 different graphics that she incorporated for planting flowers in containers. So she obviously is more visually stimulated to remain extemporaneous from where the conversationality is going to flow. Really outstanding job of visualizing the topic and making people interested in your topic from a visual perspective. And then we move on, other items that are available on the website, preparing for deer season, making sadza. This was prepared by Shamiso, who is an international student. And like what you saw a few moments ago with the making kvass, in this case, the sadza was something that is a staple in her home country. Now, from that wide shot on her title slide, it looks like mashed potatoes, when actually, as you can see from the second slide, it is something that is made from cornmeal. But it is a staple that she was missing from not being in her home country, and that's what you need to make it. There are 2 different methods of making this, and she provided videos. You boil the water. The first method, it is going to be a smooth paste, and there you can see a visual associated with that. And then the second method, you continue to mix until smooth, and she provides a video clip. So let me click on this. As with the kvass, it opens in a different window, and you're going to hear audio from an advertisement. And I'm going to skip the ad, pause it, and I'm going to play this video twice because it's only 14 seconds long. So you will see my shining visage for just a moment. And this is someone in the process of making sadza video clip. This video only lasts 14 seconds, so I'm not going to maximize it so I can recycle it and play it twice. Here is the sadza being prepared in a pot. Again, from a wide shot, it looks like thick mashed potatoes, but in fact, it's made from cornmeal.
Okay, so you have to make sure there are no bubbles or like all the pimples in there and crush it. And as it gets thicker, it's a little bit harder to put, to mix, but you want to make sure from the bottom down it's good.
So let's play it one more time.
Okay, so you have to make sure there are no bubbles or like all the pimples in there and crush it. And as it gets thicker, it's a little bit harder to put, to mix, but you want to make sure from the bottom down it's good.
Now I'm going to take it off closed captioning, mute it, and play it one final time. And in this case, I'll make it full screen. If you're giving a presentation on this, you can mute the audio and just talk over it. If you go back and watch yesterday's video, you'll notice that some of the videos that we were playing in class, occasionally I would talk over them. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And that brings us back to the outline itself. On making sadza. And that's what it looks like when you put it on a plate. Very attractive, very tasty. And then we scroll to the top. A combination of bullet points and visuals in these 7 slides. So in the case of Shimiso, not only is she talking about how to make sadza, but she's also talking about it from a personal perspective, different dishes that it's placed in, whether it's smooth, whether it's a little lumpy. You remember on the video, the young lady said, you want to get rid of the bubbles. And oftentimes, I don't do it during class, but I'll show you because these are PDFs from the PowerPoints. If you're looking at these on your computer and you want to make the slides a little bit bigger, you can go ahead and do it that way. Ordinarily, when I'm doing these in class, I'm going through them so quickly, I don't make them bigger. But when you're at my website and you want to download something or make the slides look a little bit bigger, for the sake of what are the details in putting them together, that's certainly something that you can do. But most of the time, and let me go back to it, most of the time when we look at these during class, it's going to have that size. So let's move on. Scuba gear. Remember, today is topic selection. Shooting trap correctly. How to sing in a choir. Stringing a tennis racket, and that certainly worked well as a topic. And then as we move on from that topic to the next row, lei making, demonstrative speech, how to play the ukulele, how to use a yo-yo. That was very funny. Hard to believe that was 10 years ago. Very well done. And then we get into audio presentations. There will be some people who don't have access to a webcam. And the only way they can do it, I had some people a couple of years ago who had a Chromebook, but they didn't have a webcam. So they gave their presentations by audio. We had yo-yo as our last demonstrative speech outline, but audio means, and the play indicates that it is audio or video, factor polynomials by grouping, how to drive a standard, how to keep a healthy throwing arm. I think that was someone who's on the softball team. Stimulate your hair growth. These are still audio, tortilla pinwheels, and then we get into demonstrative speech videos that include chocolate chip cookies, create a build in Dead by Daylight. I'm going to show you that. Curling your hair in different ways, decorating a Christmas tree, egg custard pie. I showed you that during the first week from Beth. That's also available on my YouTube channel. Glass music frame souvenir. I'm going to show you that one. making a grilled cheese sandwich, grilling ribs from the fall intersession of 2020, home interior decor color scheme, that is from a student, Sierra, that I showed you yesterday also. That was played from my YouTube channel, as was Beth. The first presentation I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes that is a demonstrative speech video that you can watch from my website is from Madison, How to Babysit. How to Be a Mascot, we played that from the website yesterday. That's from Alexis. How to Crochet, Making Rotel Dip. How to Prepare for International Travel, that is from Merrick. I also have that available on my YouTube channel. Depending upon time, I will play that for you today. We'll see. A Light Face of Makeup from 1 year ago. Make a shirt using heat transfer vinyl. I showed you that yesterday. That's from Sarah. And then we've got cooking speeches. Mexican chicken. I'll show that to you today. Peanut butter blossom cookies from Jordan. She didn't make 5 minutes, but I like the way she put it together, and she's a very good speaker. So I will show that to you. A demonstrative speech video from a platform. I'm still not even certain how that was prepared. Philly's cheesesteak sloppy joes. I may show you that because that was a unique presentation in terms of how it was recorded. This is Poor Man's Pie. I'll probably show that to you as well. Most of these are right around 5 minutes. A standing back tuck. Teaching your dog a new trick. I showed that to you yesterday from Taylor Ivy. That's also at my YouTube channel. And then we get into group discussions down here, which we don't play anymore. But let's start off by showing examples of demonstrative speeches that are unique in terms of content. Remember, starting here, demonstrative speech, on my website, we get into all of these items. So before we get to down here with how to babysit, let's go to my website one more time. Because in your case, you can go to my YouTube channel or watch these. Having all of these materials help you so much in terms of preparation, just visualizing what other people have done. From this point, just scroll down, and eventually, now remember, the last presentation that's just an outline for demonstrative speeches is the yo-yo speech. So from this point on, that's the yo-yo speech. These are posted in alphabetical order by topic. And then we get into demonstrative speech audio right here. And eventually, we'll transition from some of the audios. That's audio. And then we get into video. And notice with Loom, with the cookie speech, she's in the upper right-hand corner, upper left-hand corner, bottom left-hand corner, bottom left-hand corner, bottom left, bottom left, bottom left, bottom left. Now, if I'm in this class, I'm probably going like this one with the Velveeta cheese. I'm probably going upper right-hand corner. Standing back tuck, upper right-hand corner. That is the presentation from Essence, which I will show you probably second, but we're going to begin with how to babysit. And for that, we are going to return to Google Drive. And I have basically in the area of roughly 5 speeches on the shorter side, in the area of 5 to 6 minutes that I want to show you. Intentionally making them available at the website and showing you what they look like when you access them from the website. The first one we'll look at today is this one, how to babysit. And we'll go ahead and start it right now.
Hi, my name is Madison Pogue. I am a freshman softball player here at SAU. I'm currently an accounting major, planning on switching to an education major. So I'm super excited to see how this class helps me in the future. My demonstrative speech today is going to be about how to babysit because I found that I have lots of personal experience. So step one, what do you want to do? You want to babysit. Does anyone know you want to babysit? Probably not. So the first thing that you want to look to do is get your name out and into the community. You can do this lots of different ways. You can reach out to family, friends, anything like that. One of my favorite ways is to put a virtual flyer on social media. I choose Facebook groups. Those are amazing to get in touch with parents in the community. So I put a little mock virtual flyer on the slide, but you just want to say your name. They need to know who you are, a picture of you so they can see who you are and kind of what you look like and kind of gauge if they want to reach out. You have to say what you're posting about, being a babysitter, babysitting. And then you just want some information about yourself, how old you are, certifications you may have, availability like weekends or weekdays, references. I like to just state that I have them, and if someone wants them, they can reach out and get them that way. But then always put a way to contact you, pretty much. So that can be an email, phone number, to private message you on whatever you posted on. So that's super easy. But another thing I really like to stress is repeat this. Repeat it around Christmas. Say, hey, do you need a babysitter now because you need to go get some Christmas presents or anything like that. So just kind of keep doing this. Don't just do it one time. And yeah. Step two, you're going to get responses from this flyer. So you want to be able to respond back in a timely manner, but also in the right way. Don't text them like they're your friends, especially if you've never met them before. So you want to be professional, but you also want to have a personality throughout your text too. You need to let them know, hey, I'm a kid too. I can watch your kids and have a good time, but I'm also still responsible enough to answer these in a timely manner and respond in a way that shows that you're professional, but you're also there to, hang out with their kids and spend time with their kids. Step three, what are you going to wear? Always wear something functional but put together, which you can see in the picture on the left. On the right, that outfit, super cute, but really, if you look at it, what can you do in that outfit easily and everything like that? Babysitting probably isn't the best place to wear that outfit. So outfit isn't super important, but just kind of think about it like that. Think through the clothes that you're wearing. So now you're all ready. You're ready to head over to the house. You want to get there 10 to 15 minutes earlier than when they said they're leaving. This gives them time to kind of gather everything up and get out the door and leave and all of that stuff. And also the parents will talk to you when you get there. That brings us to step 4, talk with the parents. So the parents are going to have rules on food or just bedtimes. What are their bedtime routines? They'll kind of go through behavior things like discipline or, what's been going on recently, things like that, or things to kind of look out for. And then once all that's done, they'll usually be heading out the door. So that leaves you and the kids alone. And this is the best part, in my opinion, because you get to play with the kids. That's what you're there to do. You're there to have a good time with the kids and make sure they're having a good time. So some things you can do are play games. You can play hide and seek, you can play tag, or you can play board games. That always depends on the age of the kids. Are the board games actually going to be played how they're supposed to? We will never know. So you can play games, you can watch movies, pop some popcorn, sit on the couch, snuggle up and watch a movie. Or you can make things. You can make crafts, let them draw. You can make cupcakes or cookies. Of course, if their parents let them. But I find that most kids love baking and just making crafts. So those are super fun things to do to pass the time. Step 6, this is not the fun time of the night. Most kids, especially if you're doing the babysitting part right, don't want to go to bed. They're having fun, they have a lot of energy, and they want to stay up. So I found that being nice but firm, saying, hey, it's time for you to go to bed, and like being firm doesn't mean being mean. It's just reiterating the fact, hey, it's time for bed. We're not going to change anything just because your parents aren't here type of deal. You just need to be proactive with the putting the kids to bed. So start 10 to 15 minutes earlier than when they're supposed to be in bed. So they can brush their teeth, they can fully get ready for bed, and you'll probably still be a few minutes past. That sounds crazy, but kids know how to stall. They know every trick to stay up as long as they can. Okay, so now you're alone with the kids. You're alone without the kids. So you're waiting for the parents to come back. What do? You can play games on your phone. You can watch TV or whatever. I personally love cleaning. I want to clean the house, make sure the house is all nice and ready for them when they come back. I found that the parents really love that too. So that's something you could also do for a few bonus points. Step 8, the parents are back. What do? Ask them how their time was. They'll ask you some questions. How were the kids? Be honest with that question. But yeah, and then after all of your little chit chat when they get back, you will be paid for babysitting, which is a really nice reward. And then you say your goodbyes, mention, hey, I'm here if you ever need anyone again. And then you're finished. You are done with your babysitting job. I hope that helped some people. Thank you guys so much for following along and listening. And I hope.
And that's the end of her speech. Now, for all of you, again, be aware, don't cut the speech off right when you say thank you. Let it run for a couple of seconds so I don't have to pause it right there, because if I stop it a little bit later, the video recycles, and I don't want that to happen. The way that she's got this set up, upper left-hand corner, starting at 000 in Loom, so she knows where she is. Some people, if they're going to speak for 5 minutes, they start at 5 minutes and do a reverse count, as you've seen from other versions of this class during the term. But whatever you feel most comfortable with. I think in my case, I'd really start at 000 and then move forward in the same way that she is. A couple of elements about her delivery, and then we'll scroll back to the beginning as we do with all of the speeches. We'll do it with all of you as well over the next couple of days with our graded demonstrative speeches. In the case of Madison, she is extemporaneous, she's conversational, she's likable, she's knowledgeable, she's thoughtful, all the way through the presentation. She's telling personal stories, which lets us identify with her. She also has set up the visual in such a way where you can tell she's got a ring light. I would probably move the camera up just a little bit. One part of the delivery that needs some work, but keep in mind, this is the first of 4 graded speeches, are the vocalics. Listen closely just to the last minute of her speech. See whether or not, now that's a perfect example of excellent eye contact on her part, because her personality comes through. She is an authentic, poised public speaker. But there's one thing that all of you need to be aware of when you are novice public speakers: being aware and eliminating in time vocalics, ers, ahs, ums, uhs. Madison earned an A in the course. She did an excellent job. And one of the things that she eliminated as time went on was the elimination of the ums.
Come back. I found that the parents really love that too. So that's something you could also do for a few bonus points. Step 8, the parents are back. What do? Ask them how their time was. They'll ask you some questions. How were the kids? Be honest with that question. But yeah, and then After all of your little chit chat, when they get back, you will be paid for babysitting, which is a really nice reward. And then you say your goodbyes, mention, hey, I'm here if you ever need anyone again. And then you're finished. You are done with your babysitting job. I hope that helped some people. Thank you guys so much for following along and listening. And I hope you guys.
So that's the end of her speech. Again, that is a constructive way for each of you from a self-evaluation critique standpoint to learn. You watch the video, you have 4 or 5 different versions that you've recorded, and you send me what you think is the best representation of your speaking style, in this case, this week, demonstrative. Madison does an excellent job in this speech. But for any of us, if we go back like we did and watch the last minute, whenever she's trying to think of something to say, occasionally there will be an or an As time goes on for her, it was eliminated. It's a small thing, but trying to be as smooth as possible. Always having, as I like to say, that nanosecond tape delay between your brain and your tongue is going to help. And ideally, in all of these videos, in all of the courses that I have taught, literally more than 450 since the pandemic, both forced due to the pandemic and voluntary, like we are right now this summer with online, very rarely will you catch me in a vocalic because I've been doing this for so long. I just pause. And even though some of those pauses may seem uncomfortable, at least I am not in real time uttering an an odd, anything like that. Now let's take a look at Madison's structure and her eye contact from back to front. You can tell where materials are on her laptop with the location of her eyes, the webcam. Step 8, step 7, step 6, and she tells funny stories. Be firm, also be nice, play with the kids. Step 4, talk with the parents. What are the rules? Notice her eye contact, very poised. Same thing here. Step 3, what are you doing the day of babysitting? You've got major points and bullet points and also the sub points in bullet points. Outfit isn't super important. Don't get there right at the time they plan to leave. Get there a little bit earlier. Again, very expressive. Respond to the responses. There's step 1. Step 2, respond to the responses. Now I wanted to leave it there for the time being because she can talk about the bullet points. She can talk about what is the text on the right-hand side from the cell phone messages or the texts. But on the left-hand side, she is at the 2-minute 25-second mark on Loom. Look very closely at the bottom of the screen. It looks like her thumbs are right at the bottom of the webcam. I don't talk in most of my face-to-face or online courses a lot about hand gestures. Whatever you feel is most important. The most obvious thing is whatever class you're in, face-to-face or online, you don't want to look like a traffic cop moving your hands back and forth, but whatever is most comfortable. I don't focus on that a great deal. Scrolling back to step 1, there is her material for being a babysitter, her calling card, so to speak. Get your name out into the community, looking directly into the camera for that first minute. And most of the time she's doing that. And there she is, very expressive as she begins her presentation from spring of 2021 on how to babysit. Now that's going to bring us to another video. I've got that same window open in 2 different areas, so I'm just going to go back and forth and back and forth. The second demonstrative speech video among all of these on my website, we're transitioning from a how to babysit presentation into glass music frame souvenir. So in the same way that we would look at a cooking speech from point one all the way to the end, like we did yesterday or earlier this term with the egg custard pie from Beth on YouTube, same thing here. This is essence. You saw her earlier in the term for her wildcard speech on how to create TikTok videos, but this one is in the crafting category of a how-to demonstrative speech.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Essence Thomas, and today I will be teaching you all how to create a glass music frame souvenir. Let's jump right into it. And the pictures you see at the top are examples of what a glass music frame souvenir is and what it would look like by the end of this video. So many ask, what is a glass music frame souvenir? A glass music frame souvenir is typically a glass frame, but it helps you symbolize something special for you. And in this case, it is an album or a song, because everyone has a song that means a special meaning to them that they would like to keep with them. So it's mostly used for weddings, birthdays. It can represent death dates, favorite songs, musical motivation, and it can also be used for home office and room decor. And it's very popular in this generation. Here's an example of one made. The history behind music memories is the use of placing a song or album on something that's transportable and transparent to remember always wherever you go. So, for example, for a soldier, maybe the national anthem will be something that means that's really dear to his heart. A wedding first dance for a newly married couple, a relationship favorite song, maybe a childhood song, or even a high school class song for a graduate to always remember. And here's an example of one of the music frames I made myself for my grandma, and I entitled it Grandma's Hands by the famous Bill Withers. And I also utilized pictures of me and her from when I was first born and when I was 3. These are the items you will need, and most of these items you can get from Dollar Tree and Walmart. The items checklist: you need a glass picture frame, which can be one of the certificates that you can get for $1 at Dollar Tree. You need spray glue. You need Oracle 15 adhesive vinyl, which can be the color of your choice. You need a printer with paper, a computer with the Silhouette 4 app, which I will be showing you what the app looks like. You will need a cutting sheet. You will need a Silhouette Cameo 4, or any Silhouette. It can be an original Cricut that will help too, but in this case, I will be showing you how to use the Silhouette Cameo 4. You will need a weaving tool, transfer tape, and scissors. Here's an example of what my Silhouette Cameo 4 looks like. It's what will be cutting for you, and the green is what the cutting board looks like. And here's the scissors and the weaving tool. And the Silhouette logo, that is what the app will look like whenever you begin to start. And here's a quote that I thought was very appropriate for this occasion. Music at its essence is what gives us memories. And the longer a song has existed in our lives, the more memories we have of it. This was quoted by Stevie Wonder. All right, step 1. You want to gather your favorite song and picture and make sure you have all your items. And when you go into the app, you type in the song as I did in this video, and you want to make sure that you're cutting in Oracle 651. Next, you want to place your vinyl in the Silhouette cutting board and make sure you allow it the full time to cut, or the words will come out wrong, like exactly the way you want it to be. And then once that is completed, you unload the machine. Next, you want to use your weaving tool to remove any of the extra vinyl away from the words, and take your tape to lay on top and make sure you rub it to where the words will come smooth off, because once you put it on the frame, you want it to stick clearly so it will stay. Then you want to print off your picture, the picture that you want to use, and so you can use on the thing. And once you spray the front side of the picture and you lay it flat on the frame. And here's a video of me removing the tape from a frame. And as you can see, the vinyl is completely stuck on there and it's not coming off. This is a picture of the finishing product of multiple frames. As you can see, there's a couple of them, and I have used a variety of different colors and pictures, and they really turned out good. And I actually make these as a kind of like a business. So other examples of musical souvenirs that I've done are shown in this video. As you can see, I've also made keychains where you could do the same thing. And those are examples of other musical souvenirs. And I just want to thank you all for watching. And if you have any further questions of where I got my machine from, or if something didn't go right, if you have any further questions, you can email me. Here's my email right here. And I thank you all for watching my presentation. And here is the finishing product of my glass music frame souvenir. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Now that's an example of what I was telling you about. Essence just needs to wait 1001, 1002, 1003, and then pause. Don't stop right away. Let's see if we can pick that up right at the end, and I'll get her about 617.
If something didn't go right, if you have any further questions, you can email me. Here's my email right here. And I thank you all for watching my presentation. And here is the finishing product of my glass music frame souvenir.
So I have to pause it or it will recycle. She was probably the first person to incorporate TikTok videos as part of her presentation. And this is before, of course, the wildcard speech that I showed you the first day on how to, for her wildcard, create TikTok videos. Think about the thoughtfulness of preparation that Essence had all the way through. As you can see right there, the fruits of her labors, and then just move back, notice her eye contact, and she is basically giving herself a free plug at the end, which is certainly appropriate considering her expertise on the topic. Other examples of music souvenirs, and there you can see part of the TikTok video. That was a transition, step 3, step 4. It looks like she has a Slides Go template, or a template, certainly something that you wouldn't ordinarily see either on Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Slides. Very expressive, maintains eye contact all the way through. So for all of those bullet points on the left-hand side and all of the associated items on the right-hand side with the light bulb for inspiration, really good job of demonstrating the process and personal experiences with the topic. Incorporating video clips I thought was a nice touch, where you are unloading the machine at the end and removing the vinyl from the board. And if any of these videos ring a bell, keep in mind what we saw yesterday from Sarah, where she's doing something very similar with vinyl for designing of shirts. The Stevie Wonder quote, the items checklist, which eventually, notice the difference, she describes it, and then in real time, she describes it, and then over here, she adds 1, 2 different graphics. You can either leave them on the screen like that, or you can have them pop up, whatever you feel most comfortable. A lot of people have those as transitional devices. Whatever you think is best aesthetically, that's going to create a quality final product. And remember, not everything that you guys give me is going to wind up on my website. But what are representative examples of demonstrative speech topics? And then we go back into the history behind musical memories and the examples that are associated with it. Same thing here, where she talks about it, pops in a graphic, and then what is a glass music frame souvenir? Because a lot of people don't necessarily know, and utilizing that as part of her business model was certainly a nice way to have that as a topic for the presentation. And we go right to the beginning and play it in real time so she can establish eye contact with the camera, and there we go. Again, as you saw with our first presenter, Madison, expressive with the hands at the bottom. Like Madison, she is in the bottom left-hand portion of the screen. But for all of you, when you are practicing, experiment. Do you feel more comfortable in the upper left or bottom left or upper right-hand corner? Bottom right, upper right-hand corner. I know in my case, I would experiment with bottom left, upper left, bottom right, upper right-hand corner. But because we would turn a page basically like this if we're holding a book in our hand, more than likely, I am going to put my webcam right here in the upper right-hand portion of the screen rather than the bottom. But whatever makes you feel most comfortable is appropriate for the occasion. So that brings us to our third example, and we're going to transition from a craft demonstrative speech to one of two cooking demonstrative speeches. Let's move on, and the person that you are going to see next is Jordan. Her speech is right around the 4-minute mark. It is making peanut butter blossom cookies. Like our first two speakers, she's on Loom. She's in the bottom left-hand corner, and her personality certainly comes shining through.
Hello, my name is Jordan Walker, and I did my demonstrative speech on how to make peanut butter blossom cookies. Peanut butter blossom cookies has always been a family tradition during the holidays. And due to the pandemic, we won't get together to enjoy these cookies, but we'll be able to share the recipe and bake them at home and still stay safe. And I will continue this tradition with my 3-year-old brother, and we will bake them for Santa this Christmas. This has been one of my favorite childhood holiday desserts. When I was a little kid, I really didn't eat the cookie. I just ate the kisses, and I still do that to this day. There are a lot of ingredients, but it's very simple and they're very inexpensive. So you will start off with 1/2 cup of sugar, 1 cup of brown sugar, 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1½ teaspoon of salt, 1½ cup of semi-melted peanut butter, 1 stick of butter, and 2 eggs. And to get the semi-melted peanut butter, you will place it in the microwave for about 3 to 4 minutes and it will be semi-melted. You can also do that with a stick of butter. I also prefer using Jif's peanut butter. You will also need a measuring cup, a non-stick pan, and a mixing bowl. Now it's time to mix all your ingredients together. You will grab your bowl, you will pour your sugars in, crack your eggs, add the baking powder, add your vanilla and salt, pour in the melted peanut butter and the stick of butter, mix thoroughly until the dough is formed and it has a nice texture. Now it's time to roll the dough. You will grab 1 inch of rolled dough, roll it into a nice ball. Place the ball into the bowl of sugar, roll it around in the sugar a few times, then you can take it out and place it on the pan. Now it's time to bake the dough. Preheat oven to 350. Put the rolled dough on the pan, spread the balls out at least 2 inches apart because if it's closer, it might form into one big cookie, and we don't want that to happen. Then you will bake for about 10 to 15 minutes or till it's golden brown to your liking. Then you will let it sit for 2 to 3 minutes. But if you let it sit less than 2 to 3 minutes, the Hershey's will melt and it will be all over the cookie. If you let it sit over 2 to 3 minutes, the cookie will harden and you won't be able to place the Hershey's inside the center properly. If you let it sit exactly 2 to 3 minutes, then place the Hershey Kisses in the center of the cookie, you will have a perfect peanut butter blossom cookie. Now it's time to eat. This is the final product of the peanut butter blossom cookies. I originally prefer using original recipe because you get to mix, bake, and cook with your family and spend time together. Instead of just going to the store, getting the peanut butter mix, and then just placing the Hershey Kisses, it's not much very fun, but it can still work. I hope you enjoyed my presentation on how to make peanut butter blossom cookies.
And that's the end of the presentation. So even though she ran a little bit on the short side, it didn't affect her grade too much because she came across as so likable, so thoughtful during the preparation of the cookies themselves. Ran a little bit fast, but that's okay. Let's examine her graphics. Let's eat. Now, I do know students who have indicated that their families don't necessarily make peanut butter blossom cookies with the Hershey's. I've had students mention that other items were inserted instead, such as Rolos, but those are attractive graphics that give her credibility as a speaker. And she has relatively consistent eye contact as we go through the process. She's got creative graphics here, including design consistency with the red, the white font style in cursive, and all of those bullet points, allowing her to remain extemporaneous and look in the direction of the camera. And there you can see the process of mixing all of the ingredients. Same thing here, including the peanut butter, the kisses, the cane sugar, the eggs. And all of a sudden, we're literally at the beginning of the presentation. So like what everyone else is doing in Loom, or virtually everyone else, she's starting her timer at 000, and it is well lit, smiling at the camera. So those are 3 of the 5 speeches that are available on my website that I want to show you today. I wanted to make certain that one of the presentations was more artistic in nature because some of you may have that as your backdrop. Here is speech number 4. The person that you're going to see here is talking about creating a build in Dead by Daylight. This is more artistically related for a demonstrative speech, but it goes back into her wheelhouse on something she feels very comfortable discussing. And as I recall, she also has her visual from the webcam in the upper left-hand portion of the screen. We'll be going, for those of you who are with me live today, we'll be going roughly until 2 o'clock. I have one more presentation after this, which is cooking, but this is create a build in Dead by Daylight.
Hello, my name is Ella, and I'm going to be showing you how to create a build in the game Dead by Daylight. What is Dead by Daylight? Dead by Daylight is a survival horror game in which you have 4 survivors versus 1 killer. The survivors have to complete 5 generators and avoid the killer in order to escape the match. Killers have to hunt down survivors, hook them 3 times, at which point the survivor will be dead. The first thing you have to decide when playing this game is, are you going to play as a killer or as a survivor? Killers and survivors have very different goals in the game. Survivors have to complete the generators, avoid the killer, help their fellow survivors in case they get caught, and escape the match. Killers, on the other hand, have to hunt down survivors, prevent survivors from doing generators, hook survivors, or outright kill survivors. If you decide that you are going to play killer, you will have to decide which killer you're going to play. There are currently 20 killers in game, and each of them has their own unique ability which will help you hunt down survivors. You should choose a killer based on your playstyle, and you may have to play around a little bit to find out what your playstyle is. But if you decide that you prefer to stay further back from survivors and hunt them down, you may choose to play someone like the Huntress, who has hatchets that she can throw at survivors. But if you decide that you're the type of killer who likes to get the jump on survivors, you may choose someone like the Spirit, who can turn invisible and sneak up on survivors. Now, if you decide that you're going to play a survivor, you also have to decide who you will play. There are currently 23 survivors to choose from in-game, and each of them have their own separate perks that will help you in-game. Now, as you play the game more, the survivor that you play as will matter less and less, because as you play, you'll be able to unlock those perks for other survivors. But if you decide that you want to be an altruistic survivor and help other survivors, you may choose someone like Claudette, who has a lot of healing perks that will allow her to heal herself and others at a very quick speed. If you think that you are more of an aggressive player, you may choose to play as Meg, who has a lot of perks that will help you escape the killer. The next thing you have to choose are your offerings, items, and add-ons. Items are a very powerful tool to survivors. You have things like toolboxes that will help you complete generators faster. They will help you disable hooks if you need to, and generally just make the killer's life much harder. You've also got items like medkits, which will allow you to heal yourself and other survivors. Killers have add-ons that they can attach to their powers to make them more powerful. Killers have things that will either enhance their ability or take away a downside of their ability or even make things harder for survivors. And both killers and survivors have offerings. You have offerings like map offerings, which will take you to whatever map you choose. So, for example, this is the Strode Realty key, and it will take you to Haddonfield, which is Michael Myers' map. And then you've got things like this for killers, which allow you to outright kill a survivor without having to hook them. And then the most important thing that you will choose are your perks. You can have 4 perks in game, and you should choose perks that will complement your style of play. As you play, you will have to unlock perks. When you first start playing, each killer will have 3 perks. Each killer and survivor will have 3 perks that are unique to them. And then as you play and get more points, you'll be able to unlock them for other killers and other survivors. Some examples of perks are like this one right here. This is a killer perk called Hex Ruin that will make it much harder for survivors to complete generators. This is a survivor perk called Self-Care, which will allow you as a survivor to heal yourself, which can really make a killer's life much harder. And you have tons more than the ones that are shown here. To give you an example of what this would look like, I have created my own builds. So as a killer, I usually play as Michael. He has the ability to stalk characters, so he gains power from stalking them, and it makes him faster and stronger, and it generally just makes him much scarier. I usually add in some things that will help me gain power quicker. And then as for perks, I take in Brutal Strength, which allows me to break pallets and generators much quicker, so I'll be able to reach survivors much quicker. And then I take in things like Iron Grasp, and agitation so that when I down survivors, they can't get away from me. And lastly, I take in Hex Ruin, which will just slow down the game and take a lot of pressure off of me to keep it slowed down. As Survivor, I usually play as Quentin Smith, who is from the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I usually take in perks like Urban Evasion, which will allow me to move quickly and easily across the map. I'll take in Self-Care to allow myself to heal myself. And then I'm a very altruistic player, so I'll take in Botany Knowledge and We'll Make It, as well as a med kit that will allow me to heal other survivors very, very, very quickly. And then as offerings for both, I usually bring in something that will increase the amount of points that I get after the game to allow me to unlock other perks and items and add-ons. And that is how you create a build in the game Dead by Daylight.
What I like is the creativity of the Dead by Daylight topic that is being demonstrated by Ella. But what all of you need to consider before you put any template together for your slides is when you determine in Loom where you are going to place your webcam. Now, like I said, I'd probably go right here. Oftentimes, when you look at all different types of slides, the one place where there's a lot of dead space is in the upper right-hand corner. But it also is analogous to turning a page. So I would probably put my visual here. Upper left is fine for Ella, but you also want to consider this. Now let's slowly go from back to front. Is there anything that is being obscured by the webcam? And in this case, the face is, and as we move back occasionally, a little bit of the bullet point, a little bit of the text. So always consider when you're putting your slides together, first of all, where are you going to place the webcam in Loom? And then you work your way around the graphics to make certain that nothing is being obscured by the visual to any type of text. Right here is a perfect example. I don't know what that is. Because this is a demonstrative speech, it had no bearing on her grade. But from that slide, look at all the information on it. Now, where's the dead spot? Over here on the right-hand side. Because we're writing from left to right, everything's flush left, a lot of space right here that is going to work. And if you're ever concerned about something being obscured, you can take the text from the headline, or you can take the text from an associated point, make the font style a little bit smaller. So in terms of aesthetics, everything's going to flow quite nicely. Same thing here. I can't see what the text is. Got no bearing on her grade. Really excellent material all the way through. Very expressive, very knowledgeable, demonstrated the process clearly. Items like that will be cleaned up as we go from week to week. In addition to right here, with separate, always take your text and run it through spell check so there is no misspelling, because separate is S-E-P-A. And then the beginning of the speech, again, you can't see dead. There is, quote, dead space right here. Title slide works fine because she's got everything down here, got her name, the term, and the title right here. So that's not a problem. Little things that can be eliminated in time. But everything that you've seen so far, the students do a really nice job with the thoughtfulness of their content, their delivery, and their visuals. One final presentation. This is a cooking speech. The individual in question did not know how to get the closed captioning off the screen in Loom. So the closed captioning that you see actually comes from her original recording. The topic is Mexican chicken. And after we play this, we'll go through our own unofficial checklist of how you send material to me for demonstrative speech day 1 on Thursday.
Hello, my name is Lindsay McWilliams, and this is my demonstrative speech How to make Mexican chicken. I chose this speech because growing up, my mother made this dish at least once a week. It was always my favorite. Now that I'm a parent, it's my son's favorite. We always eat more than one helping, and it's very quick, easy, and inexpensive. Here's a picture of the first meal that I cooked in our house, and obviously it's Mexican chicken. It's definitely my go-to meal. What you will need: chicken. I prefer to use boneless, skinless chicken breast or tenderloins. I don't like to have to pull the chicken off the bone, but that's just my preference. You will also need 2 cans of cream of chicken soup, 1 can cream of mushroom soup, 1 can of rotel. My mother always used original. I use mild because it's got a little kick to it. The hot is a little too hot for my son's liking, so we just meet in the middle with that. You will also need shredded cheese, Doritos, a deep boiling pot, and a baking dish. Most important, I know this step seems a little silly, but cook your chicken. The very first time I cooked this outside of my mother's house, I was a very immature chef. I did not know the difference between thawing chicken out in hot water and boiling chicken in hot water. So when I started to cook, I was using raw chicken. Luckily, no one got salmonella and the mistake was caught, and I have not done that again since. So boil your chicken and make sure that it's cooked all the way through. And once you've done that, you're going to chop it into small pieces. The more chicken, the thicker the substance. The thicker the substance, the fuller you are. I like to use a lot of chicken. That's the best part to me. Mixing it up. Open all of your canned goods and mix the soups very well and evenly throughout. Then you want to add the chicken. You want to make sure it's mixed up because you want chicken and soup, you want all those flavors in each bite. Layers or no layers. Here's another way you can kind of do it to your own liking. My mother always did a layer of Doritos on the bottom of the baking dish. And then she spread the chicken and soup mixture evenly over that, and then the cheese. You can also do several layers of Doritos, or you can leave off the Doritos. I stopped putting them in because they get soggy after it's been cooked. If you do that, you could always add Doritos after it's cooked to freshen it up and give it that crunch. That's why I wait. I like that crunch. But it's all totally to your own liking. Make sure that the cheese is spread throughout the whole top. You want it really cheesy. You're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees and cook for 30 minutes. You can also tell by the cheese when it's melted throughout. That's an indicator that it's done and ready. Now it's time to serve and get full. This is where I would take my bowl and crumble the Doritos. I like to use a lot, and I like to go ahead and crumble them into bite-sized pieces so I can just eat with my fork. Then you're going to add in the mixture of chicken and soup and cheese and stir it up because, again, you want everything in every bite. Now you get to enjoy. I hope that you'll try my recipe. I guarantee it'll become one of your family favorites. Again, my name is Lindsay McWilliams. This is my demonstrative speech for Fall 2020 Introduction to Public Speaking. Thank you.
Now, she paused a couple of seconds. I will say this. It is interesting that on occasion, whenever we are looking at closed captioning whether the closed captioning is on Loom or whether it's on YouTube, there are some humorous misinterpretations by the artificial intelligence. Always make certain, Lindsay is in the bottom right-hand corner and she has her slides in somewhat of an inset to make certain that her visual from the webcam is not going to bleed into any of the text. But always make certain as much as possible, because you noticed that the rotel was reversed. If you noticed very clearly, when Essence was giving her presentation on vinyl earlier, it looked like the text on her t-shirt was reversed. Always double check your webcams to make certain that you're not recording in a mirror image. Make sure that you're recording properly. It's got no bearing on your grade, but when she held up the rotel, you could tell that she hadn't turned the camera around. Now let's go from back to front. Attractive graphics all the way through. You can tell that she put a lot of time and effort into the organization of the graphics because it made her remain conversational, including the stories with her son. Design consistency, including a Mexican chicken color scheme, and the cursive text. Quality graphics. Now those could come from online sources or her own camera, doesn't matter. But it was humorous when she's talking about the fact that early on she was an amateur cook. Cook your chicken. And there you can see probably what looks like a photo that she took with all of the ingredients to demonstrate the process, first meal in the new home, and then why she decided to choose the dish. And let's mute this and see if we can get some, there we go. Eye contact, how to make Mexican chicken. If I was going to be a nitpicker, I would say put fall of 2020 on here someplace, but we've got the name, the topic, and a visual that is associated with it. So before we officially conclude for the day, a reminder that all of this material is going to be sent, whether it's a YouTube link or a link via Loom, to my Yahoo address that's listed on the syllabus. Let's go in reverse order to the student preview mode on Blackboard, because the next couple of days, all of you are going to be the stars. Ultra is first. Demonstrative speech topic selection will be available in about an hour or so for you to watch or to download. All of these, as you know, are also available at my website. But these are all of the videos that you can look at for research purposes. And then go back to the course syllabus. Go to the syllabus itself first. Go to the final page of the syllabus. The electronic submission of assignments is to my Yahoo address, right here, Prof. James Reppert, SAU@yahoo.com. And then once you've sent your link to me from either YouTube or Loom, double check your outgoing mail to make certain that the link works, that we can access it so I can go ahead and play it in class, and I don't have to send you an email saying, you sent me an email, but you did not provide the link. We've looked at my website today. Eventually, I will go back to Twitter, because that can be one of your friends as well. Returning to the course syllabus, to the itinerary, demonstrative speech day 1, demonstrative speech day 2 on Thursday and Friday only for this week. Back to the course syllabus. Examine the checklist, which we did earlier today on an informal basis, double checking your content, delivery, and visuals on all of those categories, and see whether or not you're basically doing the things that we've been talking about so far during the term. But most importantly, right here, for the course speech schedule, let's focus on tomorrow. Burgess, Davis, Easter, French, Glover, Graves, and Griffin. To the best of my knowledge, all of you on day one have been accessing the website regularly. So please make certain that by class time tomorrow, all the way up until 11:45 or 11:50, take as much time as you need, but make certain that the version that you send me for the demonstrative speech is exactly the one that you want everyone to see, because what we have been watching with these speeches all during the first week of the first summer session, you guys are going to be the stars. So instead of fall intercession 2020, spring 2021, first summer 2021, instead of those speeches being played on day one and day two, for the most part, it is going to be everyone who speaks on day one or everyone who speaks on day two. Build a lot of practice time into your schedule so there's not going to be any confusion about anything related to any of these items. And then, of course, in the tools section, you're well aware, if you want to join us either for class on Thursday, which is right here, or on Friday, you are more than welcome to do so. Now, let's go to my email address, Prof. James Reppert, SAU, at yahoo.com. Everything that you send me is going to be accessed from this file, not my SAU email, but my Yahoo email. Right there, Prof. James Reppert, SAU, at yahoo.com. All of the information is going to wind up there. Now, finally, Twitter. The presentation that you saw earlier today from Essence is going to be the one that I place as an example on my social media. As you can see, what I did before class today was to give a shout out from more than a year ago to Taylor. And when you go to Twitter, the speech actually opens in this window.
Abby, and this is my demonstrative speech for Introduction to Public Speaking. And I will be showing you how to teach your dog a new trick. So this is Rowan, my 1-year-old dog.
So the speeches play in that window, or you can click on the hashtag for the course and go to latest. Everything that we have done so far during the term is available on my website, is also available at Twitter, including a screenshot at Blackboard. Everything that you see here, advertising is free, is what we have done so far in this class. So make certain that if you want to just look in an additional area, that you go to my Twitter. I think it's important that you understand the relevance of video as a tool to help you in practicing all of your presentations. Using the camera, as all of you have done during the social media era, is of incredible importance. And as I indicated earlier today, the way in which you carry yourself as a public speaker is going to transcend long past after you've taken this course. So watch the course videos in their entirety, scan through some examples at my website, on my YouTube channel, of what you think would be an appropriate stylistic approach, including where you can access material, including on Loom. Then, whenever you've practiced all of these different takes, send me the one that you think is most representative of your content, delivery, and visuals for the demonstrative speech. Day 1 tomorrow, Thursday only. Day 2 on Friday only. Then we revert to Monday through Thursday for informative, persuasive, and wildcard speeches. Good luck. Please make certain that those of you who are on day one get me your data before class time tomorrow, whether it's 11:30, 11:45, 11:55, as long as I can access them before we officially begin, and I can go, as I've been doing with all of the other speeches, access the tab, play it, go back in real time. And some of them will have the closed captioning on, sometimes it'll be off. But I always view myself as a professor with the glass half full when we're grading. Always keep that in mind. There's no such thing as perfection. There's always elements of anyone's public speaking style that needs to be improved, myself included. I am probably my own worst critic, but in a positive way. 98% of something is okay. I'm not going to stress too much about the other 2%. Even something as basic as lighting. I may not necessarily like the lighting from previous classes, so I turn them off. That's how you can experiment with your own respective speech preparations for each week. So good luck. Demonstrative speech, day one, is tomorrow. As for SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking during the first summer session. That concludes the recording session for today.